What if one of the most criticized thinkers in modern history is still shaping how we understand ourselves? Freud gets mocked for being outdated, too focused on sex, or just plain wrong. But here's the thing, even when Freud is wrong, he's often wrong in ways that helped reveal something real. So today we're not asking, was Freud right about everything? He wasn't. We're asking something more interesting: why does Freud still matter? In the next few minutes, we'll break down 5 key insights from Freud's psychoanalysis, what they are, why they're useful, and how they still show up in everyday life, therapy, culture, and even the way we explain our own behavior. Freud's biggest idea was simple and unsettling: not everything we do is fully conscious. A lot of our decisions, reactions, and habits come from hidden motives, fears, and memories we don't actively notice. The useful part: this explains why people often say one thing and do another. For example, someone says they want a new job but keeps missing applications. On the surface, that looks like laziness, but underneath there might be fear of failure, fear of success, or even a need to stay in a familiar identity. That doesn't mean Freud had every mechanism right, but the basic insight that the mind has layers still matters in psychology, marketing, politics, and relationships. Freud noticed that people protect themselves from uncomfortable feelings in predictable ways. Denial, projection, rationalization, these are defense mechanisms. Why is this useful? Because it helps explain why arguments often go nowhere. If someone feels insecure, they may accuse others of being judgmental. If a person makes a bad choice, they might invent a nice-sounding reason instead of facing the real one. Concrete example: imagine someone who says, "I didn't even want that opportunity," but their frustration says otherwise. That may be rationalization, a way to protect self-esteem. Once you can spot defenses, you become better at understanding yourself and less likely to take every excuse at face value. Freud argued that childhood matters, not because it determines everything, but because it helps shape your emotional patterns. That idea is now mainstream in much of psychology. The mechanism is that repeated early experiences create expectations. What happens when I need help? Is it safe to speak up? Do I have to perform to be loved? Those expectations can follow people into adulthood. A concrete example: someone who grew up in chaos may become extremely controlling as an adult, not because they enjoy control, but because predictability feels like safety. This is useful because it helps people stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "Where did I learn this pattern?" Freud believed symptoms aren't always random. Sometimes they're expressions of inner conflict. Again, not in some magical way, but in a psychological one. A habit, anxiety, or repeated mistake may serve a hidden function. For instance, procrastination can protect you from judgment. If you never fully try, you never fully fail. That's a mechanism worth understanding because it turns a vague problem into something actionable. Instead of just saying, "I'm lazy," you can ask, "What am I avoiding feeling?" That's a huge shift. Freud changed therapy by making listening central. He believed people reveal more than they realize through slips, repeated phrases, dreams, and contradictions. Even outside therapy, that's powerful. If you really listen to someone, not just their words but their patterns, you start to see what's driving them. And if you listen to yourself, you may notice recurring emotional themes: abandonment, shame, control, approval. That's useful in practical life. Better self-awareness means better decisions, better relationships, and often less self-sabotage. Freud doesn't deserve blind worship. A lot of his theories were speculative, and modern psychology has corrected many of them. But his deepest legacy is still alive: the idea that human behavior has hidden layers, and once you start looking for those layers, you can't unsee them. That's why Freud still matters, not because he explained everything, but because he helped us realize that the mind is far more interesting and far less transparent than it first appears. Why Freud still matters. 5 key insights into psychoanalysis is just one small part of Sigmund Freud and Psychoanalysis. If you're interested, our full free Sigmund Freud and Psychoanalysis course is linked in the description.